Howdy folks, how you doing? My name is Pineapple, welcome back to the channel. Today we have something that seems to be really popular with you guys. These are the community sourced videos, and we actually have 3 coming in the next week. This is the bounty hunter one. Later this week, the collector and trader videos will also be coming out, all in anticipation for the summer DLC. These roles are distinctly different, that's why they're getting their own videos. So if you guys want your comments to be featured, go ahead to my community tab, that's where I'm sourcing all of these. There was one for the bounty hunter that's been up for about 3 days. The collector one just went live an hour ago, so if you want to be featured in the collector video, go drop a comment on there and ring the notification bell so you guys can get notified for when the trader one goes live. But we gotta jump into what you guys think the bounty hunter role needs. And I want to say thanks because you guys absolutely blew this post up. There was over 300 comments, and that's a lot for a community post, so it was really cool to see. Thank you. So my post read, what would you like to see from the new bounty hunter role coming to Red Dead Online? Comments will be featured in a video. And the number 1 comment actually comes from a guy named Richard Thomas, and he says, I hope that the bounty hunter role involves hunting down NPCs instead of other real players, because I don't particularly care for the PvP in this game, to be quite honest. And that has 171 likes. So I know a lot of people are really PvP oriented, and I'm sure there will be some facet to this PvP, or some PvP facet to this structure of mission, because there's already an ability to press charges on hostile players, so there's definitely going to be something that's PvP oriented with it. However, I do think it's going to be optional, and it's really interesting. You'll see throughout this, there's a lot of people who feel this way about PvP, especially in relation to the bounty hunter missions. So people are fine with there being PvP playlists, but they really want their bounty hunter content to be PvE. And then after that, the next one is from Outlaw Joe, and he says a dog to help track the target. Now, we've talked about this a few times before. I would love a dog. I want a dog to follow me around all through the game. I want a dog mod in story mode. That's why I can't wait for Red Dead 2 PC. I really just want the Fallout 4 experience where you had dog meat. I want that for Red Dead, and to have some like bloodhound or something that can maybe help me find like the last gang member or something if I'm playing without HUD and I'm doing a gang hideout or something. I don't know. I just think it would be really, really cool, and I really cannot wait for some sort of like animal companion, because that's definitely going to come at some point, right? But we have no idea when. Hopefully it is with this update. And next up, we have a comment from Cranky Wombat, who says more knife options, clothing, and unique weapons is what I am interested in as far as cosmetics go, but really wanting to see skill trees introduced. And that has 94 likes. I actually replied to this one and said really looking forward to skill trees too, but I try to keep my comments, like I try not to influence these posts as much, so I rarely ever heart stuff, but I just saw that and I was like, yeah, I really want skill trees. So yeah, Cranky Wombat, I totally agree with you. I know I already replied to your comment, so you already know this, but just for public's sake, I really think that at least some sort of progression through abilities. We already have the ability cards, but the way that they're ranked in tiers, it impacts gameplay, but there's not a lot of variance. Even though you can swap out cards for different builds, there is very clear metas, and that just kind of ruins the whole skill tree progressing thing. If like there's one end game that everybody just grabs, it's the same 4 things, and it doesn't matter if you have 1,200 combinations. And I think that's why the introducing of skill trees could be really cool, because they could do, even if it's not a traditional skill tree like Skyrim, I think it could be really cool to have like at least unlocked abilities, things that you kind of level up to get better at or to carry more of, etc, etc. Think maybe the satchel progression in the story mode. You did things, i.e. went out and collected pelts and brought them back to Pearson, and then you upgraded Pearson's tools, and then he could make you the satchels. Even though that's not going to be what it is, that kind of oh, go do this, bring that back, that can be purposed into this, but did you go do this? I think adding that variance to the bounty hunter system is going to be really good, because it's something that, in my opinion, Red Dead Online has just kind of lacked as it's been in its life cycle. And I know it's early in its life cycle compared to something like GTA, but at the same time, we can wish, right? Next up, we have a comment here that says, the higher the bounty on one of your targets, and he puts in parentheses other players, the more notoriety you get after killing them. It allows you to be paid more for your services when doing stranger missions, as well as different levels for notoriety. Example being level 1 unknown, and the final level being Scourge of the State. Things like that, giving you a reason to level up the bounty hunter class. And that totally ties in with what we were talking about before. I just want more variance to these roles, and I know that's exactly what they're getting implemented for. So it's kind of cool that we're like, oh, we want this, and that's literally what they're coming for. So that is definitely obviously going to be moving in the right direction. But I think the way that we interface with the game, depending on how we have completed the tasks for the bounty hunter or for the trader or for the collector is going to be the coolest part, right? Like I think it's going to change based on, like he says here, the higher the bounty of the people you go after, the more famous you are. But maybe if you do a bunch of low levels, you can get a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, because you can more reliably go get those done. So I don't know. I just think it's going to be really cool to have a bunch of options like this. And that comment had 84 likes. So, you know, a lot of people are agreeing with that as well. And the next one here comes from Eddie Jones. And he says, if it's a player bounty and you tie them up, there should be an option for you to accept or refuse a bribe if one is proposed. That would be awesome. So it's like, you know, maybe double, triple, quadruple the price on their head, but they can just pay that to you and then you can let them go even and hope they don't kill you, I guess. I think that's a really good idea. And I honestly think that's probably one of the best ideas I've seen in this thread. I really, really like that. So great comment there, Eddie. And that has 79 likes. So it looks like quite a lot of people agree with you as well. Next up, we have a comment from A-Rock that says, get paid to kill Griefer with high bounty, which is the exact same thing as what Eddie was just saying. It's basically, you know, the higher the bounty on the person, the more notoriety you get for killing them, or in this case, A-Rock is saying the more money you get for killing them. But yeah, I totally agree. I definitely think the worse somebody is, the more we need to be compensated for even troubling ourselves with going after them. But the next one here comes from Brutal Hips, and he says, be able to hunt people in Mexico or Guarma. That would be really cool if there was like some actual, like if this was kind of how they started to, you know, unlock Mexico, is like, all right, well, if you level up to get the highest bounty hunter mission, there's actually one gang hideout that's deep in Mexico or whatever, or deep in Guarma, and you've got to get on the boat at Blackwater, etc. You know, there's a bunch of ways that they can implement it without it being necessarily game breaking, but to make it really hard and like a reward for going up one of these paths, that, you know, the collector honestly seems a tiny bit more likely for me as far as a candidate for being able to go to Mexico or Guarma. Again, though, that's just kind of speculation. But that comment has 61 likes, so, you know, clearly a lot of people agree. And then after that, Dr. King Schultz, which I welcome, sir. I am a fan. Says, I am actually more hyped for the collector role, and I like, hey man, look, I get it. You want to go to Guarma, you want to collect the things. It's a little ironic considering Dr. King Schultz is a bounty hunter, but I get it, okay? I'm not worried. And I actually saw a comment that said that too. Next up, we got a comment from Brian Schnell that says, having to follow clues / investigate to find your target. I hope the outlaws are mostly, if not always, NPC. I don't like having to kill other players that are just there to enjoy the game. Now, if I'm attacked by said players, I will fight back, but I never want to be / will be the initiator, which basically means he's saying, hey, look, man, I don't want to kill people who are just like chilling. You know, I would love to do these missions on repeat, but I'm not trying to kill real people. And that's the thing, is I think a lot of people really want these high level griefer bounties, and then they want pretty general NPC bounties. So they want repeatable NPC bounties, and then if there's some griefer in the session, maybe somebody comes and gets them and, like, you know, is griefing them, it can be worth their time to fight back in a manner that's like, no, actually, I'm gonna grab you and take you to the sheriff, and you're gonna pay whatever your bounty is, or whatever the real penalty is for being dragged into the sheriff's office by another player. The only thing I think, though, is they're gonna have to combat the disconnecting thing, because if people disconnect when they're being taken to the sheriff or whatever, you're gonna lose all your progress, and they're gonna realize that, and then they're just gonna troll people by letting them get all the way to the sheriff and then disconnecting. So I think that's one thing that they gotta make sure that they don't, like the penalties will just be inflicted on the griefer the next session anyway, not as long as they actually get there. You know, something like that. There's gotta be some implication to get rid of that problem, but other than that, I think this is going to be a really great feature, and I really hope they do this split between player bounties and NPC bounties, because I think it's important to have both, but I think well-structured story missions that are repeatable for the bounties is going to be what's key to making this a player accepted or a player loved feature. And then next up, we've got a comment from Just Running Mad that says, a jail cell for storing criminals at your camp. I mean, yeah, that would be really cool. I don't know if it's coming, but that would be dope. Like, if I could just like store somebody in there and have Crips stand guard or whatever, and then maybe you could get a little more use out of Crips that way. Maybe he's guarding these people all day instead of just moving around, and then that could be a reason why we gotta move around. Maybe he progressively moves these criminals towards where we're trying to take them, and you can, you know, stack up a ton of them at a time. Granted, this is all total speculation, or I mean, not even speculation. It's more just me thinking about about things that could be cool in conjunction with these comments. But you know, still, this is the kind of thing that Rockstar does, right? They're like, well, what's the coolest way we can make this? And hopefully, you know, even if some of these things, like I said at the top of this, aren't implemented out of the gate, they can be requested features by us. So yeah, jail cell for storing criminals is really, okay, it sounds cool. And it's got 42 likes, so apparently like 50 people are like, yeah man, I want to store criminals at my camp, which is, I mean, hey, more power to you, right? I think there's even precedent for that in the story mode, even if it's not a jail cell, even if it's like the stakes with the arm, where your arms are tied behind your head. I just literally put my arms behind my head like you guys could see me, but if you remember in the story mode, Bill actually gets captured by some bounty hunters if you stay away from camp for too long, and Javier comes and finds you and it's like, hey, do you want to help me save Bill? And you can be like yes or no, and if you go with Javier, Bill is like captured at the camp and he's like mouthing off, and it's fun. And then actually Sean is also captured at some point too, so it could be definitely possible actually, the more I'm thinking about it. Anyway though, the next comment comes from Ethan Coons, or Kuns, I'm not sure. NPC bounties. You have a choice to kill them or capture them. If you capture them, you are respected, and more options after the town trusts you will be available, like protecting Blackwater from the Skinners. I presume he means with the lawmen, like almost like Fallout 4 settlement defense kind of thing, if I'm reading that correctly. If you choose to kill the targets or take the player's bounty, then you will be known as the more twisted bounty hunter, like James Langton. And if you take the bounty hunter path, you can break out NPC prisoners from the wagon and turn them in for yourself, being a stealing, killing scumbag. So it really sounds like Ethan wants the real full variance of being a bounty hunter. Like, so if you want pretty much 3 options to be either, you know, the good guy, the median good guy, or the bad good guy in a sense. And it's like, hey, I totally think that is possible. I think that is definitely going to be more tied to the honor scale than anything else. So like, I mean, obviously I feel like some of these actions are going to impact your honor, but I think whether or not you have a high honor rating and you're a bounty hunter is going to be what you're looking at there when you're like, oh, I think that's when the options will open up. For example, I don't think you're going to be able to have very negative honor but be a very highly respected bounty hunter. I think you can be a highly like feared bounty hunter and have negative honor, but I think those things are going to be tied together. Next up, we got a comment from Ruben that says, a good pay is all I want. And listen, man, I totally feel you on this one. Like, the only thing I'm really worried about is that I'm gonna turn my first bounty and it's gonna be like, your first bounty is $5, and I'm gonna be like, okay. Next up, we get a comment from, whoa, I'm not reading that. Unique clothing and weapons that only bounty hunters get. And this one I can actually proudly tell you is definitely coming. I know for a fact unique clothing is coming, and I know for a fact unique weapon variants, not like as in a full variant of the weapon, but like things that you can do to the weapon, whether it be like a specific kind of engraving or whatever. I know there's going to be things like that because Rockstar has already said that in their newswire. They have specifically called out that you can look different in lobbies depending on where you are in each skill set, whether or not the bounty hunter or the collector or, you know, the trader specifically gets which items. So like maybe the trader might get a new variant of a knife, and a bounty hunter might get a new variant of like a bandolier, or maybe that's the only way to get a bandolier. You know, anything like that I could totally see happening, but Rockstar has already confirmed that. So I can tell you that's definitely happening. And then number 1 Waluigi fan says, I want to change my character, and that has 30 likes. And people like, I really thought when Rockstar added that to their website that it was coming in the next week. Hazard and I even made two dual comms about it, where we did the first dual comm when it got announced and we were like super excited about it, and then we did the second one when they removed it from the website. There just seems to be no real indication of it coming out now. Like, it's been kind of scrubbed from everything, and we're sure it's going to at some point, but we just have no idea when. It's kind of like assuming that houses are coming to Red Dead Online. It's like, yeah, at some point. So I don't want to even act like I know something, or there's, you know, a better case scenario for this. It's really tight-lipped at the moment. Like, there was stuff that came out, like leaks, that made us think it was going to happen like very quickly, and then those got scrubbed from Rockstar.com. So I have no idea what's going on in regards to character creation. I know that's not really why you put this in here. It was more of like a joke, like, ugh, I just want to change my character, screw the bounty hunter update. But just for anybody watching that's curious, I literally have no idea what's going on with it, and I am one of the most well-informed people in this game that I know. So yeah, I just don't even know. Anyway, next up we have a comment from Nigel that says, being able to go after NPCs if you don't fancy going after players. That's kind of echoing a lot of the stuff we've heard today. So I just wanted to throw that in here before I brought you a comment from Carlos Loff, who actually has been commenting here for a while. I think since I was at like 1,000 or 2,000 subs. Carlos, if you're watching this, feel free to correct me. But yeah, I think around then is where I've seen him on my channel. I see him on a lot of other channels' comment sections as well. So very big fan of Red Dead. So I'm gonna read his whole comment out here. He says, there should not be straightforward missions where we have to go to a map location and fight the gang and kill the outlaw. We should have to meet a few characters like on a treasure hunt and get info to go across a progressive adventure, even digging for notes or objects. After finally reaching the outlaw, there should be many different outcomes to get him killed. For example, he makes a hostage we cannot shoot or we fail, or we have to perform classic duel with the outlaw, or the only ways to climb on a roof and snipe him. That sort of creative, non-linear adventure. I really think that this is right on the money for what the best version of this could be. To be honest, I really hope it's where they direct it, because I think it's gonna open up the most amount of replayability per mission, right? Because if you got to collect different items and it's got some sort of randomly generated thing to it where there is a progression to it, but not even really a Rockstar knows where the next item is. So you've kind of like, it's all computer generated, and then you go and then you collect something and you're like, wait, this doesn't quite make sense. And then maybe you don't even do it right then. Maybe you just get confused and you do something else. Maybe you go play PvP, you hop on the next day, and then you're like, oh, I didn't flip the paper over. And then you flip the paper over and there's a piece of, like, granted it's a little LA noir, but I think that's in Rockstar's repertoire. You know what I mean? It's not like that's not something that they've done already, and I think they understand now that people really want to be rooted into the world, and that's all they keep saying, is that they want people to feel grounded. So they say they understand what we want. Hopefully they will actually get there, but I actually have to cut this video off. I have a lot more comments that I screenshotted that I was intending on going through, like a lot. So I'm sorry, a bunch of people were supposed to be featured in this video that I didn't wind up getting to feature. Please go comment on the collector role, because sorry, this video is already 20 minutes long on the raw recording, so I'm imagining it's going to be at least 16 by the time I edit it down. And so I'm just gonna end it here because I don't want to like really sit here and like spend 45 minutes talking about this, but this has been a pretty healthy amount of suggestions, I think, as far as what people want for the Bounty Hunter playlist. And I think really it's pretty clear that people want repeatable missions that have a lot of variance to them. So it's not just straightforward fetch quests like the typical stranger missions are. People want to be able to do things even when they're in the end game of the bounty hunter, like say they're the highest level bounty hunter, they still want to be able to go do bounty hunter stuff. It shouldn't be over just because you got to level 4. But people really want that option between player hunting and NPC hunting, and then they want people to know just by looking at them that they did it. So I think it's a pretty straightforward set of like requests from the community, but honestly we have to see if Rockstar implements it, so only time will tell. But like I said, please go comment on my community tab and tell me what you guys think for the collector role, because that is the next video coming out that should be later this week. But I'm not taking comments from this video in specific in the comment section. I will be responding to comments down there as always, but I'm not taking suggestions from here. I'm taking suggestions from the community tab post. Please go head over there, check it out. If you guys don't know, I have another channel called More Pineapple. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos over there. Videos start, I think, is today. What day is today? It's Wednesday. So videos start tomorrow over there. And we're going to be doing Red Dead Redemption 1, Fallout 4, and then we still have another slot that I haven't picked yet. So it might be a wild card for a few weeks, maybe a few random videos. But yeah, it's going to be everything that's over 35, 45 minutes. It's going to be my answer to live streaming. So if you guys want to see me talk about stuff and play games and do poorly at them in a game that's not Red Dead Redemption, that is where you guys can find it. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you guys again on this channel and on More Pineapple as well. But alas, it is time to close this video officially. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys very, very soon with a brand new Red Dead Online video. Peace.